Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news the morning after what was, whether it was entertaining, frustrating, disappointment, it was a loss against Bayern Munich. And I suppose we're in a position this morning where you've got a decision to make. Is it concern or is it progress? And I choose progress because I feel that is the message that is the most important at Manchester United. And although there are some frustrations, I yet again call out the mainstream and, a large proportion of the mainstream, and also an uneducated part of our fan base. I mean, it's like they had their agenda story written. The story was written that United was shit, and actually we've got some people reacting like we lost 7-0 when we lost 4-3, because that's the agenda road they want to go down. And I think it's completely wrong, and I do think we're back. And I do think I think we're on the road to being back. And I think it will start on Saturday night against Burnley. I saw a lot of things from that game that I think with confidence and concentration, we will get back. We will get back. I firmly believe it. Also, Jadon Sancho's in a bit more drama again. He's been playing a bit of EAFC last night. I mean, is it a story? Isn't it a story? There is a story there. So basically, look, Jadon Sancho was playing computer games about an hour before kickoff last night. Look, what? He could have been having a bath. Like, is he not allowed to do things? I mean, look, of course it's a bad look. Of course it's a bad look. But the reality is, my frustration with Jadon Sancho is that he's sat at home playing computer games when we're playing in the Champions League against Bayern Munich, and he should be in the fucking team. That's my frustration with Jadon Sancho. And the only reason he's not in the team is because of himself. So that's my frustration with Jadon Sancho. I don't care if he's having a bath, playing FIFA, playing Tetris. I don't really care. It's the fact that we're paying a guy 300 grand a week and he sat at home playing on a computer game because of his own poor attitude. If he hadn't have done that tweet, he could have been playing for us last night. That's my problem with Sancho. I also have seen Scott McTominay getting a load of stick. There was a certain clip going round of McTominay. Remember, he only actually came on for about 25 minutes. There's a clip going around of him not running and not tracking back. All I'm going to say is I don't need to see the clip. I thought he was absolutely crap against Brighton, and I thought he was absolutely crap last night. And you've got to question a guy that gets away with it because he's from the youth and he's got a bit of passion. What's his excuse for the last 2 games? What's his excuse for the last 12 months? And what's his excuse for not going to Fulham? He just shouldn't be here. I don't blame Ten Hag. What other option has he got? But we wonder why we fail when we've got players like that who can't be arsed. And I know Rashford got a bit of steak last night. Let's please back Ten Hag. Look at how long it took Arteta to sort all the problems out at Arsenal. He will sort it out in good time. So Stev, and welcome to Members Club Cameron. And of course, look, lots to get into. But Onana came out after the game last night, basically called himself shit and said he cost us the game. I loved that. And I was glad that I'd said what I'd said in the match reaction about Onana, that now is not the time to jump on him. Now is the time to back him. He's a new manager. He's a new goalkeeper. Get your bloody words out. What's wrong with you this morning? He's a new goalkeeper and he's going to make mistakes. That's what happens when you bring a new goalkeeper into Manchester United. It always happens. I think the fact that he came out and fronted up. We've had a captain who's made mistakes, who comes out and blames other people for the last 3 years. So to have a goalkeeper that comes out and basically says, we lost because of me, that should happen. That should be standard. But at Man United, that's not been standard for a long time. We haven't had players who front up like that. It's such a simple thing to do, and it's such a right thing to do. But we're shocked by it because we don't actually get players that come out and do that very often. So, Onana did cost us the game last night. He knows it. We know it. Are we going to keep, slaughtering for it? I haven't really seen too many people going on him anyway. He is the number one. That's the decision that Ten Hag's made. And hopefully we can turn it around. McTominay's been told to leave, so he doesn't care anymore, says not now, Dave. You know what? In relation to McTominay, I cannot wait until Kobe Mainoo and Amrabat and Mount are back, so we never have to see him in a Man United shirt again. I don't want to see him play for United again. He's not good enough, and his last 2 games, he has got away with it for years because he's from the youth and he loves the club. Well, the last 2 appearances from him are shocking. He hasn't actually had a good game for United for a year, but the last 2 games, disgusting, especially in a game like that where it's on the knife edge and we've actually put a lot of effort in. But look, it doesn't surprise me, and I've not even looked at the clip, if I'm being honest. At least Fred had the balls to go and play football in Turkey when he found out that Ten Hag doesn't need him, says Jordan. Well, this is it. It's ambitious players with mentality against lazy players with no mentality. Amrabat, Mount and Mainu, our hope for the midfield, says Czar. Well, I wanted to talk about this. I just want to say this. I might be in the minority here, but I mean, look, Clover's just come out with the biggest comment. Man United, John Murtagh rejected £30 million for Scott McTominay. Yeah, can we just remind ourselves of that? You know, when we talk about Ten Hag, and we know when we talk about the start to the season, let's never forget that John Murtagh rejected £30 million for Scott McTominay. And what did I say at the time? How the hell is he worth 30 million? I don't think he's even worth 20 million. And we rejected 30 million. This club is an absolute joke. And I tell you what else is a joke. Look at the stadia last night in Munich. Look at the ground that Bayern Munich have got. And then look at Old Trafford. I love Old Trafford, but it's a relic. It's desperately needed renovating 10 years ago. I'm amazed we're even in the Champions League when you consider how we're run. But what I want to do is, I want us to take the positives from last night, because the Brighton game was slim pickings, but I felt there was a lot of positives last night. Rasmus getting his first goal. Casemiro played a lot better than he has done and scored 2. I thought Martinez was, on the road to getting back to where he needed to be. I think there was some positives compared to, a lot of negatives from the weekend. And what I needed to call out, and look, I expect it to see from, you expect to hear it on the radio from prats like Gabby. But I actually saw some United fans last night reacting with the words lazy, spineless, same old United. And I'm like, just say your Ten Hag out. Actually, just say your Ten Hag out so I can ridicule you. Because what game are you watching? Spineless, lazy, and what was it? Same old United. I'm like, you didn't watch the game, did you? Or if you did watch the game, you watched the game in the way that negative people do watch the game, where they ignore anything positive and just go, we're shit, we're shit, we're shit. We lost 4-3 in Munich against a team that's way better than us, and 2 people made 2 massive mistakes, Eriksen and Onana. So really, we could have got a draw. But I'd have took 2-0 last night. I'd have took a 2-0 loss. So I'll certainly take 4-3. The whole team didn't play shit. The whole team wasn't spineless. But you get that sort of agenda coming out. You get people going, United were a disgrace. They were spineless. We've got, look, our midfield, Casemiro, Bruno and Eriksen, with McTominay having to come on against Musiala, Goretzka and Kimmich. It's a recipe for disaster. And actually, it wasn't a disaster last night. I think there was a lot to take from last night that we must take into the Burnley game. But you've got to be really careful, because I felt last night, and I said this on the watch-along, I felt that what I was seeing and what I was hearing and what I was seeing on social media was, this is not going the way the media, certain sections of the media, certain fans want it to go. I sensed all day yesterday and all through the game, I sensed that people expected and wanted and almost had the mentality of United are going to get beat 4-5, 6-0. And when it didn't happen, their story dissipated. So what they tried to do is manipulate that result into the humiliating 6 or 7-0 they were hoping for. And even some people in our fan base have done it, because some people have made their mind up. And when people make their mind up, they have to be right. And I think that there are people out there that have decided that Ten Hag isn't good enough for Man United, that these players are not good enough for Man United, and that United is the story to jump on and put pressure on. And I'm 100% aware of this, and I'm totally convinced that this is the story that we're going to have to fight against, which is why I think it's so important that we bounce back against Burnley and go on a run of fixtures where we win right the way through until the Manchester Derby, which is next month. We've got 4 Premier League games that we can win, and we've got a couple of cup games, Galatasaray and obviously the Carabao Cup game against Palace, which I think we need to win. So, and I think that will happen, but there is definitely an agenda against our manager and our team, because they want to push that. And look, I know how the media works. They'll look at it at the moment, they'll go, Liverpool, Arsenal, Brighton, Man City, they're the positive stories. Spurs, they're a positive story. Villa, they're a positive story. But we need a big club where it's a negative story, where we can really push the sack across the season. And it's Pochettino and Ten Hag, and it's Chelsea and Man United, and that's the story that's been written at the moment, and we've got to fight against it. No one questions the mistakes similar goalkeepers like Ederson and Alisson make mistakes. I back Onana 100%. You also see Murta offered 50 million for Ferguson, says James. I don't see anybody turning on Onana, and I think that's a good thing. I think it was a very good thing that he came out and fronted up, but I didn't really see anybody going in on Onana anyway. I think it was overhyped. Even people like myself that didn't really agree with replacing De Gea this summer, I still liked Onana as a goalkeeper anyway. I like Onana. I liked him at Inter. I liked him at Ajax. So I don't think Onana. I think it's a concern with Onana. I don't think it's a hate campaign or anything stupid like that. I just think people are a bit concerned. Maybe this won't work out. Which who knows whether it will or it won't. But it's too early days, and I don't see a problem with Onana. I mean, he cost us last night, but Ten Hag was right. Ten Hag said, it's a bit slim, but he's still right. He said Sane shouldn't get the shot off, and he is right. Like, Sane plays a 1-2. And I can't remember whether it's well, obviously it's Reguilon, but there was somebody close by as well. It could have been Eriksen, it could have been Casemiro, who really need to close him down quicker. The shot shouldn't happen, but you are clutching at straws a little bit because it's such a simple save for Onana. Mark, what sort of result is acceptable against City or Liverpool or Arsenal? Says Rory. But we're not. You see, this is the thing about writing stories and headlines, which are completely and utterly useless, because we don't play Man City for a few weeks. And it's so important to focus on the fact that we are missing so many players. Like Amrabat really should have been in the summer. We're nearly in October. Like I look at dates, I look at where we are. It's nearly October and Amrabat hasn't played a minute for Man United. Like the transfer window closed 3 weeks ago. That's how worried, it's worth looking at that. Like, it's nearly October and Amrabat's not played a minute. Mason Mount has played, one game? Mainoo's played no games. All three of those players, whether you rate them or not, are clearly part of Ten Hag's plans. So, look, there has to be a consideration around, and look, Varane's a massive loss at the back. Varane is a huge loss at the back. Sancho and Anthony are big losses. You can say it's down to them. You can say, whatever, but it is. So, I mean, Wan-Bissaka's a big loss. Luke Shaw is a huge loss. So we've got a lot of problems. Not saying other clubs don't, but we do have a lot of problems. And it's in a different world, last night was a good result. In some fans' minds now, they'll be saying it's a good result. But in a different world, last night's a good result. You go to Munich, their strongest 11, the bench they've got, at home, huge favourites. You lose 4-3. Your goalie makes a mistake. Eriksen was rubbish defensively, and you only lose 4-3. And you've got Luke Shaw, Varane, Wan-Bissaka, Amrabat, Mount, Mainoo, Anthony, all players that would be definitely getting minutes, if not starting, all out. So I think that there is a positive. All I can say is I feel positive this morning. How I feel on Sunday is going to be very different if we don't win, but I do feel that there is an opportunity in front of us now to get this season started. And that's why I said at the start of the week, for me, the season starts on Saturday night, and I'll say it again today. The season starts on Saturday night. That's the game we've got to go and win. And you know what, as well, I look at that team. No one questions the mistakes similar goalkeepers let. We've done that from James. We have lost 4 out of 6 games this season, conceding 14 goals in 6. Eric Ten Hag's side now lost 18 of their last 35 away matches, says Jack. We need to remember we are very much in the early stage of transition, says Ronnie. And how are the media still enticing McTominay based on his international play when he's never really had a comparable good game for United, says Delicate Official. Well, I want to just talk about the players and, who I think's doing well and who I think's backing the manager and who I think isn't. But you make a good point about McTominay there. And this is something that I have consistently spoken about on this channel and on That's Football, because it is relevant outside of Manchester United. The uproar in the English media because Ramsdale's been dropped for Raya is ridiculous. You turn the radio on, you turn the TV on, you go online, and the outpouring of grief from the English media that Ramsdale's been dropped for Raya is like Arteta has committed a sin. This bias is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And it's not even a conspiracy now. It's just blatant. They bias around British players compared to foreign players is unbelievable. David Raya is a better goalkeeper than Ramsdale. I know that. He is. I think Ramsdale should be England number 1, but David Raya is better. He's come into that team, he's probably trained better than Ramsdale, and he is their number 1. What's that got to do with Man United? Scott McTominay last night was a disgrace to the shirt. You know, you come on for 25 minutes and you're running around like that. Absolute disgrace. And he's been at that club since he was a kid. Has he got a mood on because his best mate Maguire doesn't get picked? Has he got a mood on because he doesn't get picked? Something has made McTominay not put an effort in last night. Has he got an injury? I don't fucking know. But he didn't have an injury for Scotland. He was crap against Brighton as well. Now, what am I talking about? What I'm talking about is, if that was Paul Pogba, or Anthony Martial, or Bruno Fernandes, or Casemiro, they would be being slaughtered this morning the same way Casemiro and Martinez were being slaughtered on Monday morning against Brighton. No one spoke about McTominay after Brighton. It was all about Casemiro. The bias is ridiculous. You've got Graham Souness yesterday, or the day before, doing an article where he calls Paul Pogba a lazy twat. I mean, if I sat here and went, Harry Maguire or Scott McTominay is a lazy twat, I mean, yeah, I probably would say it, to be honest, but that's you know, we talk about Maguire gets booed against Scotland and it's Man United fans' fault that he gets abuse. No one's even talking about Maguire. No one spoke about him yesterday. No one spoke about him this morning. No one spoke about him the day before. No one was speaking about him before the international break. You know why we're not talking about him? Because he doesn't get picked. We don't talk about Maguire because he doesn't get picked, but the media talk about it because it's a sin that an English player is getting booed by Scottish fans and it's Man United fans' fault. But you've got the media calling a foreign player a lazy twat. I mean, it's just all kinds of wrong. But it just winds me up because I agree. I think McTominay was a disgrace yesterday. I don't think Eriksen was very good, but I don't think that it was through a lack of desire. I think he's a square peg in a round hole. But when a player comes on for 25 minutes and the game's in the balance, I expect them to run. You know, people are clipping Rashford up saying that his attitude was bad, and I think it was bad, but there's a difference. The point I'm getting to here is, and Slow Sports News says, Mark, we need to back these players and manager. If as fans we don't back these players, then we're as bad as them. I'm as upset as everyone else about losing, but we need to get through. I agree. And I'm really excited about Rasmus. Not many other teams have a young, hungry striker up front with physicality and poaching ability, says Nick. Mark, is Rashford really worth that huge contract? Is he better than Matoma, who doesn't even earn half his wage, says Joshua? Well, no, he's not worth the contract, but we've given him the contract and we have to back him. Of course we do. But I think there's something really important to take away from last night, which people don't realise in the latter days of Ollie and Van Gaal and Mourinho. All three of those managers had lost a large proportion of the dressing room. No doubt about it. Mourinho in his final season, he was gone by Christmas. He'd lost the dressing room by now in the September. Ollie was well on the way to doing that, and Van Gaal lost the dressing room as well. Ten Hag has not lost the dressing room. The media might want you to believe that, but he hasn't lost the dressing room. So just be very wary of what people are trying to do. People in our fan base are trying to do it. He hasn't lost the dressing room. What he's done is he's isolated people like Sancho and said, you're not part of my plans. Some people aren't happy about that. I'd question, you've got to look at McTominay and say, what does he think he's doing? Maybe Maguire's not very happy. Donny van der Beek won't be very happy either. So there'll be probably a handful of players that are liked on the training ground that are, potential issues. But there is a strong core of players who are firmly with this manager, and I'm quite confident that group of players will win through. When I talk about those players, and I know it for a fact, Onana is behind Ten Hag. Delot is behind Ten Hag. Lindelof and Martinez are behind Ten Hag. Reguilon's just come in, so he's behind Ten Hag. Casemiro's with Ten Hag. Eriksen's with Ten Hag. Bruno's with Ten Hag. Mount's with Ten Hag. Amrabat's with Ten Hag. Mainu's with Ten Hag. Mount will be with Ten Hag, if I haven't said him. Højlund is with Ten Hag. Garnacho is with Ten Hag. Anthony will be with Ten Hag if he comes back. Pellistri is with Ten Hag. And, shock, horror, Marcus Rashford is with Ten Hag. Like, you can have a pop at Rashford all you like, but Ten Hag has turned Rashford's career around in 12 months and he's given him a big contract. So there's a lot of players who are with Ten Hag. And look, all those names I've mentioned there, as long as those lot stay with Ten Hag, I don't really care about what Sancho or McTominay or Maguire or Donny van de Beek, whether they're with him or not. It doesn't matter. We don't need you. And that's the important thing. I'm with Ten Hag as well, AK. AK says, I'm with Ten Hag. I'm with Ten Hag. Yeah, 100%. So that's the main thing. I don't really care about players who aren't even in the team, whether they're with Ten Hag or not. And if they try and disrupt, they should be outed and booted out. But what we desperately need and Varane's with Ten Hag, and Luke Shaw's with Ten Hag, but we need them back in the team. We need our better players back. And, certain aspects of the media, maybe certain aspects of our fan base, are going to try and create problems. But they're not comparable to the latter days of Mourinho and Ollie, where the dressing room was, fractured, divided, all over the place. That is not the case with Manchester United. And it's absolutely spot on to say, I don't see this changing massively over the next 2-3 months, regardless of results, because I think that there are so many players that are actually with this manager. Like you say, Rasmus is a hungry, ambitious striker. He's not going to turn against the manager. There's no reason for him to do that. Amrabat will be the same. Casemiro will be the same. Martinez will be the same. Varane will be the same. Onana will be the same. Bruno will be the same. And that's the spine of your team. And they are 100% behind this manager and they're going to fight for him. So I see the results turning around, but people want to try and make out that, we're on the cusp of something. I think what we're on the cusp of is a very difficult situation created by Murta and Co. in the sense that every player that's causing a problem shouldn't be here anyway. Harry Maguire should have been sold. Scott McTominay should have been sold. Donny van de Beek should have been sold. And Jadon Sancho should have been sold. And if you take those 4 players out, you've probably just removed every bit of toxicity and issue within the squad. So again, where are we looking, guys and girls? We're looking at the ownership and we're looking at the way the club is run. There is no issue with the players that matter backing the manager. The issue is with the peripheral players that probably aren't very happy, and they shouldn't be here anyway. While the Glazers are in charge, we will never be able to get rid of these problem players because of mismanagement and the debt. And that's true, James. It's not easy to just kick a player out when they're on so much money and we're in debt and we can't afford to do it. But I think that, look, I heard what Scholesy said after the game yesterday, and he basically said Man United are a cup team. They might be able to win the FA Cup again. They might be able to win the Carabao Cup again. But this is not their level, the Champions League, and it's not their level yet. I think he's right and he's wrong. I would never have said that United are capable of winning the Premier League at the start of the season anyway. And to win the Premier League, the Champions League ain't much easier. So Scholesy's right. We're not at that level yet. And I still think we could win an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. And I still think we could get 4th. But I think we're going to struggle to be in the top 2 or 3 positions this season. I think it's logical that will be a problem. But what I would say on the other hand is that we have got an immense amount of injuries at the moment. And when you're bringing Scott McTominay on because you've got to, and you've got nobody else, in a game like that, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? And it's a very strong signal that we aren't where we need to be. And look, we need the sale. We need the sale, but that's not going to save this season. I think in relation to this season, it's about hoping that we can move past some of these injury issues and get a bit of luck and then try and get some consistency. I still think that when everybody's back fit, we can give everybody a game. But what we can't do is give people a game when we've got the problems like we've got. And look, there was things yesterday in the game that frustrated me. I saw Bruno and Ericsson too many times receiving the ball on the turn and whipping a blind ball forward, hoping for that, deadly quick transition that gets Højlund or Pellistri or Rashford in. And I'm like, I don't agree with that obsession with fast transition. It didn't work once in the game. And actually, the second goal we scored came from keeping the possession and just playing the simple pass. I'd like to see us do that a little bit more, because I think we're a team that's capable of doing that. So we're still a work in progress, and we're still a team that could do better even with what we've got. But I don't think last night's a drama in the sense that, it's the same old United, we were spineless. I think it's just poor analysis driven by agenda that let's pile on to Man United. And I think every United fan would have took that result last night before. 4-3 away to Bayern, we would have took it. Of course we would, because no one wants to lose, but where we are as a club with the injuries and the form we've been in, that's on paper, that's not a bad result. And ultimately, I was gutted by it because we made mistakes. If a school is failing, you don't blame the teachers or the pupils, you blame the head teacher for the failing, says BGT. So yeah, look, I might be completely wrong with this, and it might be a proclamation of jinxing us, but I genuinely do look at it and go, this is where the season starts. And if I was a player at Man United, whenever they're back in training, which is probably going to be tomorrow, maybe today, I'd go in with enthusiasm, desire, concentration and confidence, because Burnley are going to give us Burnley's the perfect game in many ways, because they are capable of getting a result against us, but that cannot happen, and we're going to have to go there and work, concentrate and play well. It's the perfect game, but those players shouldn't be going into training today or tomorrow, feeling spineless or feeling let down. They've got to go into it and work together. They've got to go into it with determination. There's a run of games now to get the season back on track. In many ways, people have written us off. So if we can go and win our next 4 Premier League games, which I think is Burnley, Brentford, Palace and maybe Sheffield United, if we can go and win those next 4 games, not easy, but if we can go and win those games, then it puts us right back up in the mix again. We're a long way off at the moment, and we just need to focus on our job. And look, the external noise needs to stop. We need to blur it out, whether it's the media, whether it's the minority of fans in our fan base who are just clueless about sacking a manager in this situation, or whether it's the toxic elements in the club at the moment. I mean, I'm tired of seeing... Mason says, coming home from the bar today's loss was frustrating yet surprising, says Mason. And was at the game last night, and just a shout out to the travelling United fans, nearly threw the subways off the tracks. The passion and dedication in our fan base is second to none. Let's back Ten Hag, says Delicate Official. And I agree. And, at least our travelling support last night got a game. Imagine if we got beat 4 or 5-0. They actually got a game. They got something to be involved in. We all did. But you know what? I'm tired of seeing people talk about Harry Maguire or Donny van der Beek or, Jadon Sancho. I'm tired of it. Like, all 3 of those players have had chances at this football club. And we're not a charity. And I think that's what Ten Hag is trying to create. You don't just keep getting chances. It doesn't matter whether you're a fan favourite, whether it's Sancho FC or Donny van der Beek FC. And I like both players, but both players have got to look at themselves. Donny van der Beek wasn't even registered for the Champions League. I would much rather have seen Donny coming on instead of McTominay, but that's a reflection on Donny. If you're not even in this squad, what does that say to you? As for Sancho, I mean, look, play FIFA. Play bloody Mario Kart for all I care. I don't care. You're not playing because you disrespected yourself, disrespected the fans and disrespected the manager by keeping up a petulant, childish, immature post for a week. And I wouldn't pick you again. But the issue with that is, it's not the fact that he sat at home playing a computer game. What do you expect him to do? The embarrassing thing is that he's on 300 grand a week, he's a really good player, and he's sat at home when United are playing Bayern Munich. The only one who should be embarrassed by that is him. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that you are publicly going online playing a computer game when you should be playing for Manchester United in real life. And the reason you're not playing is because you've been badly advised. And You know what? I wish some of these players would remove their head from their arse and get in the real world and surround themselves with people from the real world and not yes people who kiss their arse and tell them how great they are. You become a much better person in life and society when you take on your shortfalls, when you learn that you're not Superman or Superwoman and you realise that you're just a human being like everyone else. And when you start to respect yourself and respect everybody else and realise that you're not some sort of king because you earn 300 grand a week playing football. You're talented, but personality-wise, you're as flawed as everybody else. They need better people around them. You know, one of the best bits about what Solskjaer said yesterday was these people, these players, the disease in football of these players who surround themselves. I mean, I would not have a family member as my fucking agent in a million years. You know, how many people? If I'm a forward for Manchester United, I'm literally in the smallest percentile you could ever imagine. Imagine how many people who want to play for Man United end up playing for Man United up front. I mean, you are talking tiny, tiny, tiny percentage chance, right? So not only am I lucky enough to have the talent to play for Man United, I also think that my brother, sister, uncle or mother is going to be a talented agent as well. No, absolutely no chance that you are going to be a top level footballer and you just so happen to have a brother or sister or a mother or an uncle who is also the top class agent. It's just... Ollie's right. It is a disease. And even the people that are agents and aren't family members, they're kissing the arse of these players. These players do not surround themselves with people who have got proper life experience, who will give them proper life advice. And I'm not saying you need to be an agent. You know, there's a guy down my local pub, great chat. You know, sometimes I just go down there and have a chat with him. Really, really intelligent guy, really good guy to talk to. I tell you what, you could get that guy to speak to most of the Man United squad and he'd give them better advice because it's blunt, life experienced advice. And these footballers just don't do it. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating to have players that should just be focused on playing for Manchester United, whose heads are being distracted by hangers-on. And I always say this, if I was a professional footballer, it's like what Robbie Williams said when he was in Take That. You know, sleeping with all these girls, I think it was girls, and he said it in a book or an interview and he said, you know what, it gets to a point when you've slept with so many people and you just wake up and you go, are they sleeping with me because I'm an attractive human being or are they sleeping with me because I'm Robbie Williams in the biggest band in the world? And the answer is the second one. It is. It is. Unfortunately, it is. And it can be a very shallow world when you surround yourself with hangers-on who are only doing it because you're famous. And a lot of footballers, all the people that are hanging on around them are because you're a footballer with loads of money and you might give them a lift in your Porsche or whatever you've got. If you were a normal person, you know, working down the pub or whatever, would all these people be kissing your ass? No, they surround themselves with bad people who are around them for one reason, and that's money. I don't know where I went there, but I know what I'm trying to say is, unfortunately, Man United have more than 3 or 4 players that have people around them that cause the problems, and the players themselves are not intelligent enough to see it. Avram, thank you very much. Thank you for your super chat. Matthew Eade says, add to the point you said about Scholes. He's also said that their progress was stunted because of our summer transfer window to take us to the next level, says Matthew. Well, look, I think Scholes, my only concern with Paul Scholes is that it's the same concern I have with Roy Keane, Gary Neville. A lot of our ex-players, if it's not a mate, they can be... I get concerned about whether they back the manager or not. But Scholesy does talk a lot of sense, and the summer transfer window wasn't good. Like, the fact that Rasmus was brought in so late and Amrabat was brought in so late, it could have been a lot better, and it wasn't as good as it could have been. But look, we are where we are. In many ways, it's similar to Onana, isn't it? Some people are doubting Onana. I think you've just got to get behind the manager, yeah, and get behind the player. We can't. De Gea's not coming back. We're not signing David Raya. Onana is the goalkeeper. He has made some mistakes. He's fronted up, and the worst thing we can do is do what every rival fan is doing, which is ridiculing him and calling him names. And that's the job of rival fans. They're going to take the piss because they love it when United sign players and they don't work out. What we've got to do is get behind these players and support them. And I think we will. I think that's what we will do. Let me just have a quick... Somebody just said, have you seen this breaking news? I don't think there is any breaking news. I think I would have had a message about it. You know what I'm tired of? You know what I'm tired of? I've just read somebody on Twitter here. Take your nose out of our fucking football club and shove it up your arse. Just another person saying you can't blame the Glazers and give Ten Hag a free pass. You've known fucking nothing about our football club. Shut your gob and talk about your own club that no one's interested in. You can't blame the Glazers and give Ten Hag a free pass. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you a Man United fan? No. Piss off. It's got nothing to do with you. I think the Man United fan base can make their own mind up about the manager, and we support the manager. So shut up with your external noise, trying to jump on our club for relevancy and support your own club. Because you can't tell Man United fans what they can and can't do about the Glazers. And I'm tired of people who don't support this club jumping in, sticking their nose in and going, you can't just blame the Glazers, you've got to blame Ten Hag as well. We've had, how many years of the Glazers? Nearly 20 fucking years of the Glazers. 20 years of our club rotting from inside. 20 years of debt. 20 years of shit decisions. 20 years of not selling players. 20 years of buying the wrong players. Do not tell Man United fans that you've got to equally proportion the blame with Ten Hag with the Glazers. Shut your fucking gob and do some research. You gobby, uneducated prats. I'll tell you what, it's really starting to bore me how non-United fans are telling Man United fans you can't just blame the Glazers. Oh, who are you? What? Since when did you have the font of all knowledge? You bloody turbo twat. I just don't get what they think they're talking about. Like, if you don't understand, on the one hand, these people say, Brighton, it's amazing what a well-run club can do to a team on the pitch. Man United, well, you can't just blame it on the Glazers while they're bad on the pitch. Yeah, okay, so Brighton are a well-run club and it runs all the way down, but United are a shit-run club and that doesn't explain why we're shit at the bottom. Yeah, look, Ten Hag is 100% the manager of Manchester United and will make mistakes. But I'm telling you now, if Ten Hag had been given Kim Min-jae and he'd got his midfielder in that he wanted in June, and he'd got another striker in, fit and ready to go at the start of the season with Rasmus, which is what he wanted, then we'd be in a much different situation to where we are now. Cold, harsh fact. And also, I don't know a football club that has to keep players that the manager's told to go, and then he has to pick them as well, like McTominay, like Maguire. You know, there is massive problems in that football club. And look, the proof will be in the pudding when we actually do get new owners, if we ever get new owners. But look, I don't mind any of you as a Man United fan talking to me about the Glazers, but I can't be. I actually, you know what? If I was in the street and a Newcastle fan came up to me and said, you know what, you can't just blame the Glazers. You've got to look at Ten Hag as well. I just walk away. I'm not touching them. I just walk away. And they go, where are you going? I say, I've got nothing to say to an idiot. Erik Ten Hag has been dealt a horrible hand at the start of the season with injuries and the board taking their time signing players as why. But you know what it goes back to as well? This completely and utterly backs up my point that what they're trying to do is they're trying to, and there's loads of them are doing it. Ali McCoy's did it last week. Paul Merson's done it. I'm sure Tim Sherwood's done it. Countless rival fans do it. But what they don't realise is, one, your opinion doesn't matter because you're not a Man United fan and you haven't done your research. So if you don't do your research on this football club, then don't bother telling United fans that we need to blame Ten Hag because it's our club. I don't tell Everton fans that they've sold the club to the wrong people. They may have done, they may not have done, but I would trust Everton fans to do their research because it matters to them. Don't tell me as a rival fan that we can't blame the Glazers for everything that goes wrong at Man United if you haven't done your research. We had Jermaine Genius a few years ago when United got the game cancelled against Liverpool on primetime TV saying, I don't understand why United fans are protesting against the Glazers. They've spent £1 billion over the last 10 years. And I'm like, that is a mainstream pundit who hasn't done his research. So I've got no time at all for people who come at United fans telling us that we you've got to blame Ten Hag as much as the Glazers. Well, hold on a minute. I don't have to do anything you tell me to do. And the main thing here is it's you who's pushing the Ten Hag movement, not Man United fans. We back this manager. Now, some people in the chat might not, but you're in the very, very small minority. Over 90% of this fan base will be behind the manager. Fact. So why is it that over 90% of this fan base are behind the manager, but we can't move for people telling us we should be blaming the manager? The people telling us to blame the manager are external people who want to take this club down. Whether it's for, interaction on radio, on TV, on newspapers, or they're a rival fan who just wants to see us suffer. We don't need to listen to this external noise. They are not educated and they don't know what's going on at this football club. And what they really don't realise is that over 90% of the fan base want Ten Hag to stay and be our manager. We just want better results. And that's the real change we want, is the change that's going to make the biggest impact. You need to just turn the volume down on this noise. This is what happens. People try to generate a story. It's like what happened with Maguire last week. United fans didn't want any part of that Maguire story. He went on an international break and he wasn't being spoken about because he wasn't playing. He's come back from an international break and he's not playing and he's not being spoken about. But you have this vacuum on an international break about Harry Maguire this, Harry Maguire that. Every person is being asked about Harry Maguire in a press conference. He's not played for United since. He's injured now, but he didn't get picked at the weekend. The media and certain people generate the story. We are not part of that story. And I'm telling you now, the season starts on Saturday night. And if these players take on what the fans are thinking, we'll win on Saturday night and the season will start and we'll shut these fuckers up. And that's what needs to happen. Get behind the manager, get behind the players. And the biggest message of all is those players in that dressing room, get behind the manager. And if there are any dissenters, out them. Get behind the manager. We've got loads of players that are going to come back. We've got lots of players in that dressing room who are behind the manager. Get behind the manager, because if you're behind the manager, you're behind the fans, and let's get on with this season. The Killer says, don't worry about it, Mark. He's just salty that United ruined his childhood and he doesn't want to acknowledge the real problems at United. And imagine we actually got Kim Min-jae, Frankie de Jong and Kane. The whole buzz this season would have been unreal under new ownership, says David. But that's another stupid story, David. I'm not saying you're stupid. Like Kim Min-jae and de Jong, we should have got. I completely agree. The Harry Kane story is just lazy journalism again. Everybody does it, but it's so lazy. I can't stand the Harry Kane story. It is lazy. Lazy. It's lazier than a dead sloth. It's so lazy. We couldn't buy Harry Kane. We couldn't buy Harry Kane. And people keep going, we should have bought Harry Kane. We should have broken the bank for Harry Kane. We could not buy Harry Kane. I'm not fans of Richard Arnold, the Glazers or John Murtagh, but we couldn't buy Harry Kane. It wasn't a possibility. You want to know the truth about Harry Kane? If Spurs had said, we will sell to a Premier League club, Chelsea would have blown us out the water. Pochettino and Chelsea wanted Harry Kane, and it's in London, and Kane probably would have stayed in London. Chelsea would have spent 150 million on him if they could have got him. But Spurs were never selling him to a Premier League club. So this nonsense that we could have got Harry Kane and we dropped the ball and this, that and the other. It doesn't suit me to say this because I always want to go in on the Glazers. But we couldn't buy Harry Kane. He wasn't coming to Manchester United because Spurs would not sell him to a Premier League club. So I don't know what people are talking about. Oh, United should have broke the bank for Harry Kane. What, we should have offered them 300 million? We should have offered them 200 million. We were never going to do that. And we couldn't do it. But people still go on about Man United should have bought Harry Kane like it was an open goal. Signing Harry Kane for United would be like, starting with the ball on your own bloody goal line, blindfolded, and trying to run through the Man City team and scoring. We were never going to do it. Never going to do it. Ray says, I'm back in the manager, which is great. Look, I think last night was disappointing, but I think a lot of people are expecting a lot worse in the context of the scoreline. And for me, you know, I just want to say this. Martinez last night, a lot better. Casemiro last night, a lot better. Those two players are massively important for us, and they were a lot better. Rasmus' first goal. Rashford actually did well on a couple of the goals. Casemiro, 2 goals. Like, we've just got to take that and take it into that Burnley game. What we can't do is go into that Burnley game and let their crowd get up for it and let their intensity get up for it and our heads drop. We've got to get rid of Henry VIII FC, and we've got to hold our head high up FC, because too many times we score or concede and then we concede another one, and that's a bad trait to have. Thanks everyone for watching. Interesting show this morning. It is Thursday. Got some big announcements coming for you this afternoon. Keep your eyes out for that. It's got win, lose or draw with Ben Foster on That's Football coming up as well. You're all legends. Look, let's keep the conversation going, but I'm telling you now, the external noise is to try and turn us against our manager, and if you can't see that, you're blind. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.